Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty, here with a recap and review of Castlevania Episode 1, Witch Bottle. So first I want to get some stuff out of the way, which you can just skip if you just want to watch my recap. If you're new to the channel, I mostly cover video game content, but at the time of recording this, I've been homeless for over 8 months. That means no access to my games and normal recording software. I've been keeping this channel going with mobile game let's plays and show recaps, done with the use of online editing programs and a camcorder. As such, please forgive me if the audio for this isn't perfect. I'm doing my best. Anyway, I've always been a big Castlevania fan, though I've only ever beaten Symphony of the Night. When I was looking for a new show to do videos on, this one sprang to mind, since it's video game related and I've heard nothing but good things about it. And with all of that out of the way, let's jump right in. So we open in Wallachia, 1455, and I'm not at all sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, because even the internet seems unsure how to say it. If you happen to be from there, feel free to let me know the answer in the comments. There are skeletons horrifically impaled everywhere, but the animation is gorgeous enough that you almost don't mind. There's also bats, and lots of bats. And one just gets shanked by a pretty lady, and let's just take a moment to appreciate that, because if you have ever played the original Resident Evil, you know how damn hard it is to take out tiny flying creatures. I'm also pretty sure this is someone with no combat experience, which just makes it extra impressive. She's standing before this huge-ass door of a pretty impressive-looking castle, which I think we all know is the one where Dracula lives. I'm not sure who's keeping an eye on it, but it opens when she knocks. She steps inside, and it's a pretty good thing Dracula's not human, because I'm pretty sure it would take forever to get anywhere in this place. Spotting Dracula himself in the distance, the woman actually puts her knife away and introduces herself as Lisa, a woman from a nearby village who wants to be a doctor. He mocks her intentions, but she tells him off and clarifies that she's not a witch, though many others call her that. And I've played the game, but I'll avoid saying anything spoilery at this point for those who haven't. She's a scientist, and she's come to the castle in search of information, which everyone says the person who lives in this castle has. I'm sure that's not all they say, but if those skeletons didn't stop her, nothing will. Being all intimidating, Dracula mentions not getting many visitors for some unfathomable reason, and asks what she has to trade. She offers to teach him some manners, pointing out how he hasn't even offered her, his guest, a drink. And seriously, this woman is pretty awesome. He brings up the idea that he might drink from her, leading to a humorous exchange about some garlic she had earlier, but she again expresses her strong desire to heal people. When he comments that she's not like most people he's met recently, Lisa suggests that she might be able to help him like them again. Heading deeper into the castle, he asks about the whereabouts of her village, leading her to comment on how he doesn't travel much. Apparently his castle is some sort of traveling machine, according to him, so I guess like an R-rated house-moving castle? I mean, isolated magic man gets his heart softened by a nice young lady. It's not actually a big leap. Anyway, she basically tells him he needs to get out more, and he shows her his special science room. It doesn't really seem that impressive to me, but she's super into it. She tells him the people won't be scared, superstitious peasants if he shares his knowledge with them, but as someone who has seen the future, the path we're heading down might actually be worse. But they share a sweet moment, and Dracula admits he might like her as they venture into the special science room together. The screen fades to black, and suddenly it's 20 years later, in some place in Wallachia. I'm gonna guess it's the hometown Lisa mentioned earlier, because she's being freaking burned as a witch by the most evil-looking bishop ever. He spelled some nonsense about her having glass in weird shapes, but like, have you ever really looked at a wine glass? And we all have a first time for seeing something. But of course, these are different times, and Lisa's medicinal work is the real reason why she's been labeled as a witch, even though she's done nothing but help people. The bishop mentions her last name, which is now the same as Dracula's, but anyone else who has played Symphony of the Night already saw this coming, though admittedly I didn't think it would be happening this fast. At least Dracula got 20 years with her. We only got a few minutes before they robbed us of this awesome character. Anyway, the bishop really hates silence, but he does name-drop Wallachia, so I think I'm pronouncing it right. The scene doesn't come as a surprise, but it's still so hard to watch. Lisa's a good person and didn't do anything wrong, yet she's given such an agonizing death. Like, she seems to be tied pretty high up on that stake, as if to make her suffering even worse. But even in her final horrible moment, she screams out to her husband not to hurt the humans, because they simply don't understand. And the bishop continues to be an ass, and we're all just waiting for the moment that Dracula ignores Lisa's final wishes and just annihilates him. Lisa keeps pleading for him to be better than them, but there's over 20 games in an animated series, so we know he's not going to do that. 8 minutes in, we finally get the intro, which is pretty freaking sweet. I really like the style that it's done in. We cut to Dracula returning home from a trip, walking through a village at night. Yeah, everyone's running around accusing people of witchcraft, but no one's got anything to say about the huge, pointy-eared man with red eyes. You figure out pretty fast that he doesn't know Lisa's dead yet, and it honestly hurts just thinking about him finding out. One thing I loved about Symphony of the Night, aside from it actually having a story, was that it made Dracula a person instead of just some big evil entity that needed to be stopped. You understood why he wanted revenge on humanity, even if you didn't agree with it. Anyway, he's walking and frowning even though he doesn't know yet. Has this guy ever smiled? That's my wish for this series. Though things are only going to get worse for him from here on out, so. They make sure to show a close-up of what's probably his wedding ring before he stumbles upon the ruins of the house they shared. An old woman comes along to leave flowers, realizing he's Lisa's husband and lamenting how Lisa was taken and accused of witchcraft. She has only kind things to say about Lisa. Dracula demands to know where his wife is being held, and the poor old woman can only tell him she's surely already dead by now. The nice lady states how she couldn't take part in the burning and instead chose to leave flowers in remembrance. Dracula is stunned by this news, and we see him shed tears of blood. Turns out he was traveling at Lisa's suggestion and did so via human means. Slowly. If he hadn't been doing so, he could have easily saved her, and that just makes it so much worse. In Lisa's name, Dracula decides to do one last kind thing, telling the woman to take her family and leave Wallachia. Looking all demonic and scaring the heck out of her, he states he will no longer travel as a man and instead travels as Pyron from freaking Darkstalkers, rocketing out of there in a pillar of fire. Back at the execution site, we get to see Lisa's skeletal remains crumbling to ash while the people smile and cheer. Evil Bishop talks about how wonderful he could make Wallachia if he only had time to burn out all the evil. Really getting harder not to root for Dracula here. And speaking of Dracula, he appears in some flames before the onlookers, demanding to know what they've done to his wife. Bishop's science hater is surprisingly not fazed, though he's shaken pretty hard when he holds up his little stick cross. Dracula again demands to know why his wife was killed and defends her against the accusations of witchcraft. They apparently thought Dracula was some superstition. I mean, even we know he was a real dude. Where did they think all those impaled skeletons came from? And this just enrages him further, while the normal townspeople are also rather chill. Why is no one freaking out over this? Dracula gives them 1 year to leave Wallachia. Well, he says more make peace, but they could leave, which is frankly nicer than I'd have expected. Fire starts raining down as he departs, and I'm surprised everyone didn't just die then and there. I guess this place did seem to have a lot of stone buildings. We cut to Dracula looking pretty freaked out in front of some mirror thing which just breaks and floats away. Is that some kind of ancient magic webcam or something? He goes on a rampage in which he destroys a book and breaks a couple glass things, before talking about how he actually needs that year to summon an army from hell itself. I mean, I feel like he could easily just kill them on his own if he wanted to. Doesn't he have plenty of monster friends? Or is this about making his vengeance more horrifying? Regardless, someone is against this idea, a mysterious glowing man. He speaks some sense, urging Dracula to find the person actually responsible for Lisa's death, rather than doing something that will cause many more innocents to die unjustly as she did. But Dracula insists there are no innocents, as any one of the onlookers could have spoken up against what happened. I know he's blinded by rage here, but obviously they couldn't. First, not everyone in Wallachia was even there. Second, some were kids or even babies. And finally, doing that would probably just get them killed too, and maybe even put their families at risk. I mean, I get it. If someone I cared about was killed or I was being killed, I'd probably feel the same way. Because, you know, I've been bullied, and it sucks when people just stand by and watch, even if you can understand why they might do it. But anyway, Shiny Light Man insists that he won't let Dracula do what he plans, even though he grieves with him. Dracula lunges at him, and we see blood spatter. 1 year later, nothing has apparently changed. I mean, I'd like to believe some people were smart enough to listen to the terrifying fire demon and leave town, but there's still way too many people in the place where Lisa was murdered. Things are all heavenly as a choir sings, and you just know something really bad is going to end up happening. They carry out some pope-like guy, and he has really long, claw-like fingernails. Is this dude human? Anyway, he's apparently the archbishop, and talks about how the devil threatened them while they were burning a witch as God willed, yet 1 year later they are still alive and well. You almost want to laugh, because if that's just an invitation for all hell to break loose, nothing is. But there are kids here, and they don't deserve any of what I'm sure is about to happen. It becomes dark suddenly while he's babbling on, yet he doesn't even seem to notice, and then it starts raining blood. Now everyone starts freaking out, and then what looks like fur balls start falling with the rain, but they're apparently like demon fetuses. And the blood is cascading off the rooftops, and the archbishop gets impaled with glass, but still manages to get up. There's a fire tornado, and Dracula's face appears. He reminds them of his warning and is enraged that they are just celebrating the day they murdered his wife. Fire consumes the church, demons pour from the buildings, everyone is getting massacred, men, women, and unfortunately even children. It's graphic as hell, and I want to know if anyone actually survives this attack. Dracula then orders his minions to venture out into the countryside and continue the killing spree in Lisa's name. And it's like these poor dudes in other towns didn't even know about the 1 year thing. He also mentions Lisa as his first love, but didn't he have another wife, Elizabeth or something? I need to beat the other games. After that freaking nightmare fuel, we cut to a drunk guy telling a really weird story in a bar. There's another guy off drinking alone who looks like he was in the opening, but this whole scene feels really weird following that violent massacre. A panicked man rushes in, and for a moment, I think he brings news of the slaughter. Close, but he mentions the horde having been seen, which kind of makes me feel like the killings are now a thing of common knowledge. Did we have a time skip or something? Drunk guys starts complaining about all the noble families and mentions the Belmonts, saying how they should have just killed all of them. And it's like, yeah, great idea. Get rid of the people who keep killing the monsters. This seems to worry the guy drinking alone, so maybe he's a Belmont. Gotta figure they'll have at least one in this show. And then it's over. I knew the end was coming, but what a strange scene to end it on. Honestly, I wish they'd ended with the massacre, then had this bar thing be the start of episode 2. That being said, not a bad start. I wish we'd seen more of Lisa, though. It was nice to see what we did. Despite her importance, we never really got to properly see her before this. The first season of the show apparently only has 4 episodes, and they all seem to be around 30 minutes each. Kind of surprising, but I'm still interested to see where things will go from here. So what did you think of this episode? Do you think it did justice to the games? Are you looking forward to seeing more? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!